say just recently you were handed papers saying your wife, after 20 years, decided she doesn't want to be around you anymore. She wants a divorce. She wants out. Last week, or the week before last, we talked about why marriages fall apart. Well, we're going to dive into how you can actually survive a divorce, because they're not as devastating if you have the 4 pillars of a relaxed man in place. And that's what we're going to be talking about this week on episode number 84 of The Relaxed Male. Hello and welcome to Relaxed Male, a podcast that helps men change their relationship with themselves. I am your host, Brian, and I am a men's life and mindset coach who is here to help you understand that you don't have to suffer at your own expense. You can live your dream, and I encourage you to set, then pursue your goals. So join me as I change the mindset and attitudes of men so that they can be the leaders of their families and their destinies. Hey, everybody. Hello and welcome to The Relaxed Male. All right. So first off, I want to say thank you to everybody who's coming in and listening to the show. First time, second time. If you are a repeat listener, you've been listening from episode number 1, man, all of y'all are awesome. All of y'all are great. And I appreciate everything that y'all are doing. There is only one small ask that I do do on this is if you're listening through this and you come across somebody who's going through a divorce, somebody who is having a hard time, share this episode out with them. Share it with them so that they can actually say, "Hey, you can get through this. You can survive a divorce or some other type of terrible, event that's going on in your life somewhere along the way where you have, metaphorically speaking, gotten kicked in the teeth." So if you'll share this out, share this with your friends, your family, or, share it on Facebook and all that, that would be incredibly helpful to be able to build the community up. Now, before we actually get started into the show, wanted to also talk real quick about a event that's coming up on August 5th through the 8th. This is Operation Tears of the 22. Chip, Rich and Matt. I don't know who Chip is. He just kind of crept in and started working with them. But anyhow, Rich and Matt are working really hard to get the final details tied up for this Operation Tears of the 22 off the Hardball, which is going to be over in the Bird Adventure Center down in the Ozark National Forest. This is going to be one heck of a get-together. Just basically is going to be a big old camping trip with a whole bunch of veterans to help them get their mind off of the day-to-day grind, everything that's just eating them up, heart and soul wise. This is allowing them to just let their mind reset, relax, take everything away, and to be able to connect with other men, like-minded women who know what they've been going through, truly know what it's like to be, if you've been active service during one of the recent wars and conflicts that we've had, this is the thing for you. Be able to come down, to have the ability to commune and talk with others who've been through the same type of crap that you've been through. And they can feel what you're going through. So if you are a veteran, this event is actually completely free for you. They are just asking you come down. There's going to be food provided. There's going to be food available. There's going to be bands. I'm going to be speaking. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be going on. If you are not a vet, dude, still want you to come on down, man. If you're not a vet, it's going to cost you $20, which for what they're wanting to put together and what they're doing is a crazy low price. But come down, enjoy, have a good time, and hit a couple of the Jeep trails. They've got Jeep clubs coming down to give the veterans rides around on some of the more crazier Jeep trails they have available. I've heard that they're supposed to be hiking trails and stuff like that. I'll probably be doing a lot of hoofing around in the forest, because that's my jam. I just like to put one foot in front of another. So help us get these, raise awareness and help keep the veterans that we have from doing something that is rash and horrible, because every year we lose 22 veterans a day, not a year, 22 veterans a day die because of suicide. And that is way too many. One is way too many. We need to make sure we keep them around, keep them, because our country honestly still needs them. It may not be for in the military, but there's a lot of other things that they can do that would help. They've got a mission to fulfill. So come down, sign up. They've got, you can go to there. I've got a link on the show notes for the Eventbrite. There's also, you can also go to Facebook and sign up and get more information. And they've even got a link over to their Teespring site, so you can actually pick up a shirt and some other items, stickers, things like that. So man, it's going to be a good time. Want you to come on down. Now, each week I like to answer a question. I'd like to have people who are facing something in particular, facing a particular problem, and are wanting some advice on how to actually take care of that question, take care of that problem. And if you are interested in asking a question and having me answering it on the show, you can do so two different ways. You can go to relaxedmale.com/contact. That'll take you over to a contact page, and you can fill out a form and it'll come right over to me. You can also just shoot me an email, Brian with a Y at relaxedmale.com, and ask your question. And again, I'll answer it on the show. If for whatever reason, I don't have a question, then what I normally do will just jump over to Quora and I'll answer a question there. And it's great because you can find all sorts of weird questions, and you can find some that you're like going, yeah, okay, I don't really buy that that's actually what the case is. But then you get some that are just really good. And that's what I found this week. And that is, what is the most important thing to teach a child so they will be successful? And there's so many things you could say, make sure that you never, buy too much house, or, don't ever don't ever buy buy on loan. Make sure you save up the money. There's a lot of things like that, but I wanted to say one of the things I actually really wish I had taught my kids when they were younger, growing up, was that they are in control of their emotions. Emotions don't happen to you. They are products of a thought that you have had. And if they want to be happy, they want to be sad, that's fine. They can be that. There's nothing wrong with feeling happy, sad, or anything like that. You can feel those emotions. It's good to feel those emotions. Those emotions are, as I've said before, they are the color for your memories. The ones that are the most memorable events are those times when you're going going camping, and you end up parking your tent in the wrong area, and just everything seems to go wrong. You lose the camping equipment on the highway on the way there, and you set your tent up underneath a beehive, and every morning you get out, you seem to run right through the same patch of stinging nettles. The whole thing, everything about that seems to be horrible at that moment. You're just angry and frustrated and all that. All those emotions make that trip such a much more memorable occurrence. But to be able to teach the kids that nobody can make them feel something they don't want to feel. Somebody says something to get a rise out of them. The best thing to do is, not respond to them in the way they want. Instead of going, hey, to really live, the sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That whole thing, to know that somebody can say something just as rude as they can be and still have the control of being able to just smile in the face and go, well, that's what you think. And be able to carry on, to have that type of confidence and balance. And that's something that's really tough to do, especially in the teenage years when their emotions are just flying all over the place just because their hormones are just all over the place. So that's the main thing. And so I also wanted to just kind of give a quick one, because a lot of times, I think last week I spoke for like almost 45 minutes on the question of the week itself, trying to see if I can give you just a little short, quip answers instead of giving big old long diatribes. But so to be able to control their emotions, to be able to know where emotions come from, to be emotionally more aware. For my son and my daughter to know that, hey, this is how life is. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's just life. You're going to feel happy. Life is 50-50 pain and pleasure. Half of it's, wonderful stuff. Other half is going to be stuff that is just going to blow balls. It's just going to suck horribly. And so to teach my kids that would have been a great benefit for them. So now over to the main topic. Yeah, I told you that was going to be quick. The main topic is surviving a divorce. And this is something that, like I said, mentioned before, I'm in several divorce support groups, and I see so many men jumping in there and saying, I just found out that my wife just told me she doesn't want me in the house anymore. And as these guys go on, the divorce gets, really messy and really ugly. And the wife gets a lawyer, and the lawyer starts telling them, well, we can go for, 50% of everything he has. And basically you've got free money. And it's all this stuff that builds up. And, greed gets a taste of gets into the mix, and suddenly the person you thought you remember as being this wonderful, sweet, amazing woman suddenly starts to become very vindictive, very angry and unreasonable. And honestly, on the same side, she's going to probably start thinking a lot of the same things about you. He's just doing this just to get back at me. He's just, we don't really know exactly why each other does this, but it does. And divorce is hell. And we see the really, really ugly side of people when we go through a divorce. The people who we loved and committed our lives to, suddenly they become a different person. And when fighting monsters, you have to hope that and pray that you don't become a monster in your own stead. So how do you keep your feet on the ground? How do you keep your head on straight? How do you survive a divorce? How do you come out of divorce on the opposite side, or even possibly stop the divorce from happening? Well, there's 4 things, and I've talked about these things multiple times, and that is using the 4 pillars of a relaxed man. These 4 pillars are a man's mind, body, soul, and community. And each of these are things that you have to work on every day, day in, day out. And if the divorce ends, or you save your marriage, even when that happens, you do not stop practicing these 4 pillars. You have to continually apply them. You have to make sure that you can stand up against the tests that your wife will throw at you. And they're not something that she's actively always trying to do. It's the best way of looking at them. And that is, hey, I need you to stop going to your men's groups all the time. We need to be doing some stuff on Thursday night. We've got a group that I want to start taking us to. Well, you can say yes, or you can say no. I need to make sure that I continue to talk with these men every week, Thursday night, 7:00. Talk with them. And we've made a commitment to each other that that's what's going to happen. And she may not like that boundary, but then again, that boundary is for her sanity and your sanity, and to make sure that you keep yourself in the position where your wife finds you attractive and finds you as the man that she fell in love with and married. So let's go ahead and jump over. So how the man's mind, why is this helpful? First off, you're learning. You're always growing. You're keeping check of what your thoughts are. You're keeping check of what your mind is about. You're learning about yourself all the time, every day, learning a little more and a little more and a little more. You're reading books. You're listening to podcasts. You're watching YouTube videos about a particular topic, but you're also learning about yourself and how to grow as yourself. You want to always be learning how something works, how something can be accomplished, how something can be improved. And that includes your emotional strength, your emotional well-being, your mental health. That also applies to, your passions in life. Are you into RC planes? Well, how do you, you're going to want to consume information about those particular topics. If you're into wood carving, you find literature about wood carving. You find books about wood carving. You probably find podcasts about wood carving. And these are all things that are available for you to consume, to build your mind, to grow your mind. And you need to always be growing because, as Robert Kiyosaki said, the moment you stop learning you're dying. And that is such a profound way to look at it because you're not growing anymore. And the moment you stop growing is the moment you're going on the downhill slope. And so many of us men, when we get married, once we get out of school, the reading comes to a halt. The reading stops and we're doing whatever it is we need to do to make sure that we bring in the resources for our family. But we still need to be learning, and we don't. And that's a lot of the problems. We start getting ourselves set in ways, and we start telling ourselves, a bunch of particular garbage, like, oh, I can't read because the moment I start reading is when I fall asleep. And so I don't read. I can't get further than, 2 pages in. Well, that's because of that story you're telling yourself. You've told yourself you fall asleep when you get 3 pages in. You told yourself you don't start falling asleep until 10 pages in. Guess what? You'll make it to 10 pages and then you'll start getting drowsy. If you say, I am an avid reader, and start programming yourself mentally that to be an avid reader, you will start reading more and more. That is, again, making sure you keep your mental state in a learning position, a learning means. And so you want to make sure that the man's mind is always being cultivated and grown, and taking the stuff, question things that you believe, and come to understand why you believe those things that you say you believe, and make sure that you change the garbage and put out and bring in new stuff and learn and change philosophies, understand philosophy. How do you apply different philosophical means of living? These are all important. These are all covered under the man's mind. The next pillar is the man's body. The man's body is the health pillar. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything, right? You've got to be able to make sure that you are prepared physically so that you can protect your family. Yeah, you hear a lot of women these days say that they like a man who is soft around the edges. They don't want a guy that's all buff and muscle bound. Well, I can understand why they don't want a guy who's muscle bound. But you want a guy who is in shape, and a soft guy with, that's pudgy and it's got rocking that dad bod. No, honestly, women don't find the dad bod near as sexy as they try to claim. They would rather see, because if that was the case, you would see Nicolas Cage being, a lot more dad bodish. You would see, Chris Pratt would be back to being his rounder self. You don't see those because people actually like to look at, women like to see men who are in shape.
And this is a pillar I struggle with. I need to be getting myself into better shape. And right now it is just walking. And if that's something, at least I'm putting one foot in front of the other. I'm burning a little bit of extra calories that I'm putting in, and it's not being converted into fat, but still I need to be doing more. I probably really need to start doing burpees every day. Just something else to really get that heart rate going some more. But it's not just exercises and making sure your body is fit. You need to be eating right. You need to, and I don't mean eating tofu and going a vegan. No, us men do have we are omnivores. And so that means that we are to be eating animal meat and eating different types of meats along with green fruits and fruits and vegetables, green leafy vegetables, the different colored vegetables, all those things that, go in a great salad are good. That includes bacon. Bacon is actually very healthy for you. Don't let, the health nuts try to tell you otherwise. Bacon is very healthy for you. My great granddad, from what I understand, used to have, large sandwiches, during the Depression. And that's, if you can live off of something like that, you're doing good. You're on the right path. Now, the third is man's soul. This one here is incredibly important because us men fight burnout when we're doing stuff that doesn't fit with what our calling is. There is a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and Gay talks about there being 4 different zones that people work in. There is the zone of incompetence. This is stuff that you can't do. You don't do well. And it's like me being a mechanic. That is my zone of incompetence. There's zone of competence. This is stuff that you can do. You're not very good at it, but you can do it. There's the zone of excellence. And this is stuff that you can do, and you really do rock at it. You are good at this. Then there's the zone of genius. And this is what this is your calling. This is what you are meant to be doing. This is what really fulfills you, and it feeds your soul. You need to be doing that. And 99.999% of the time, the feeding the soul means you're creating something. It might be that you are creating a blog. You're doing something. It's doing something that is bigger than yourself. You're contributing to other people. This calling is kind of an elusive trait in all reality. It takes a lot of work to really figure out what it is that you're meant to be doing. But it's something that if you work at it, you can find it, and it's trial and error. One of the best ways of doing this is start off just by making a list of things you would like to try. Wonder what this would be like, and start doing those things. And as you do, you'll start finding out what you like about it and what you don't like about it. And those things that you like about it are going to start kind of leaning you and molding you and directing you over towards what your main calling is. Another way you can find out is to find out what your talents are. And ask your friends, what's your superpower? And they're going to probably tell you something that you think that no one's going to finds that interesting. And that's because you're so good at it, but they are in awe of the fact that you're so good at it. So maybe it is organizing a file cabinet. You can do it in such a thoughtful way that they would just like, who would have ever thought that? Well, John would have, because that's his superpower. That helps you to understand where you can apply your talent with what your calling is. And there you've got that spark of genius. And the last one is the man's community. Now, the man's community is one of those that is, once you become an adult, especially when you become married and you have kids, this one withers and starts to crumble so fast. Yet at those times is when we really need to make sure that we keep our community close. The man's community pillar is also the band of brothers. These guys that you talk to on a regular basis. When I say regular, I don't mean regularly once a year. I mean regularly, like once, twice a week at minimum. and you are always living your life intentionally with this group of guys. And when I say a group, I don't mean just 2 or 3. I mean, you want about 12 guys that you can look to. These guys are your 3 a.m. On your 3 a.m. list. These are the guys that if you had a problem 3 a.m. 3 o'clock in the morning, you can call one of them up and they'll go, dude, I'll be there. Give me 10. And they'll do it. They'll get up, they'll get out, dressed, they'll get out no matter what the weather is to be able to come over and help you with whatever the problem is. But not only is the man's community that tight knit group of men, masculine men that all men need to have in their lives. We all need that, especially when you're married, because these are the guys you turn to for help and insight. These are the guys you turn to for help with your kids. You know, they say it takes a village, but it's not a village. It takes your band of brothers to come in, and, you know, from time to time, they may take little Johnny and Billy out on a camping trip while you're out working, and they bring them back, and they've got, you know, they're going to share the fun stories about old dad while they're out there. And those are things that help your kids connect with you better. These are the things that help your kids connect to your friends better. But the man's community is also your church, the animal clubs out there, like the Elks Lodge, the Lions Club, things like that, the Rotary clubs, all these different types of clubs and special interest clubs. Like, you know, there's maybe a blacksmithing club, or a wood carving club, a woodworking club. There are always these different types of clubs out there. And if you are looking for a club, the great place to go is over to meetup.com. And if you can't find something in your area and in Meetup, that's a good indicator that you might want to go ahead and start trying to creating one. But know that if you create that, it's going to take dedication and consistency, and every week showing up and having no one else there. You show up at that place that you've designated as the meeting spot. You show up there, no one shows up. You're there for an hour before you pack it up and you leave. You show up every week. You invite people, and they may, I'll come, and then they may turn around and kind of blow you off. But if you keep it up, eventually they're going to go, okay, fine. Yeah, I'll come over. And you start growing, guys, because all of a sudden those people you brought in, they are involved. And then they start bringing other people. And then those people start bringing in other people. And those people start bringing in other people, until you have a working club of whatever the topic is that you want to talk about, whether it is underwater basket weaving, or how to, you know, or a computers nerd club. You know, maybe you have a Linux users group that you would like to start. There's always something out there for you that coincides with your interests, with your desires, with your calling, and with your passion. So those 4 pillars. Now, why is it that they are important? Well, again, man's mind helps you, because you can read books like the 5 love languages and learn that, you know, you can probably win your wife back by actually knowing how to speak to her in her love language. You can find out you can take the test over at 5lovelanguages.com, and they've got a test there, and you can test and find out what your love languages are. You can also take the test and help you understand what your spouse's love languages are. And these help you to become better at connecting with your spouse, because a lot of times their emotional bank account has run dry. It is gone. It is depleted. It's been depleted for years, because you're going to work, you're coming home, you're sitting down, you're grabbing a bite to eat, you watch a little television, you go to bed, you get up and you rinse and repeat. And you're doing everything you can just to hold yourself together, because you're not doing the thing that you really love. You're doing something that you find that you need to do just to make sure you bring home the bacon. And your wife was probably out working too, and she's not doing what her calling is, and she's doing what she can just to bring home the bacon. And y'all go and leave. Y'all come back. Y'all barely talk. Y'all barely do anything. And so, yeah, that emotional bond, those emotional tanks are going to drain. And so all of a sudden somebody catches her eye, and they actually talk to her, and she gets excites those little, those feelings of what love is, and the euphoric emotions, feeling of lust. And that is a hard thing to dissuade, but eventually people will start to realize that, hey, I'm still falling into the same trap. I fall in love with this girl, and that feeling of fresh new love, that puppy love is just, is great and wonderful, but it starts to wane, and you start hitting these cycles of trying and failing. And those emotions fail because of the lack of being able to speak a love language. But if you can show your wife, or if you have been through a divorce or you're going through a divorce, at least don't date until the divorce is final. That's one thing I keep hearing guys saying, well, we've been broke up for 6 months, so I'm dating this other girl. No, wait until the divorce is final. That's one big thing. It just learn to be comfortable with yourself. Put yourself through those uncomfortable situations of learn to be by yourself, learn to depend upon yourself. Don't depend on a woman to be able to bring you happiness, because one, she can't. The only person who can bring you happiness is you. As you go through your divorce or your separation, making sure that you understand how you're understanding what those emotions are and why those emotions are being felt, and the thoughts that are associated with those particular emotions help you to understand when someone is trying to manipulate you emotionally, and why, and if they're trying to, or if you are trying to manipulate somebody emotionally, and you can understand how to start communicating not in a passive way, form of communication, or a aggressive form of communication, but you are in assertive form of communication. You're speaking in the tone and in the way that a man has to speak. And yeah, if someone's not used to that type of speaking, they're going to be really kind of put off with it at first, because they're used to you being very mealy mouth and very, very passive, or even passive aggressive. And those are never good ways to actually communicate. But to communicate in an assertive manner is one that commands a lot of authority with you. With the fact that you're actually even creating, and that you've got a healthy body, these 4 pillars provide the foundation for your balance. And when you are balanced and you are standing on a firm foundation, the people in your life will be able to use you and depend upon you to be there, and to be that emotional rock that they need to look to. Using these 4 pillars is important to be able to survive your divorce. And if your marriage is falling apart, using these 4 pillars can also help save a marriage. If it is going downhill, start applying these pillars. Getting around, start reading, listening to more podcasts, consuming stuff for the knowledge, not for the entertainment value. Just sitting there being amused is a big problem, because you have a muse, and that is a thought, that is imagination. But to amuse something, to find something amusing, it means to not be a thought. That is, you're turning a thought off. Guys, I want to thank y'all very much for taking the time to listen to the show. If you would go and share this episode out with those who you think would actually benefit from it. If this is your first time listening, man, and you made it this far, man, I appreciate it. You can go over to relaxedmale.com/subscribe. And you can see that I have a load of different ways that you can actually subscribe to the podcast. We're available on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Pandora, Stitcher, and many other podcast platforms out there. If you are running into a platform that you don't have, well, I've also got links to be able to pull up the RSS feed, so the RSS feeds URL, so you can copy that in there. But if you would just let me know what platform you use that it's not showing up, I will make sure to get it to show up in there. So, guys, with that, I want to thank you again for listening. And if you have any problems, have any questions, anything like that, please reach out and let me know. I'd love to be able to help you out and see what we can do on getting you on the right track. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Thank you again for listening. Until next week, bye.